Some 14 years ago, I noticed that this picture contained a hidden message, left by someone who wanted to disclose the biggest secret in the history of mankind. Initially, the project was named the Zeeman Enigma, but after an incredible discovery in January 2012, I renamed the project to Project Golden Dragon. NASA asked the Brookings Institution in 1960 to write a report about the implications of space activities. NASA knew that satellites or manned missions one day probably would find alien artifacts, alien technology, or alien life, and it was essential to know the consequences of such discovery. The Brookings report examines the potential implications for the discovery of extraterrestrial life, stresses the need for further research, including a study how leadership should handle the information and under what circumstances leaders might or might not find it advisable to withhold such information from the public. Strong evidence suggests that the United States leadership found it advisable to withhold information from the public after an event on the Moon in 1994. Welcome to Project Golden Dragon. On the 25th of January 1994, the Deep Space Program Science Experiment, DSPSE-1 or Clementine-1, was sent to the Moon by the US Department of Defense. Official reading: mission to test sensors capable of looking in multiple frequency bands, in ultraviolet, visual and infrared range, and to test 23 SDI systems. The satellite will be exposed to extreme heat and cold, and CCD cameras will have to deal with high level of radiation. Between the 19th of February and the 22nd of April 1994, Clementine made an unknown number of film strips of the Moon. Every 5 hours, one revolution around the Moon, some 6,000 images were received at the DSPSE Mission Operations Center, the DMOC, which was operated by the NRL. NRL imagery experts had 15 minutes to examine and censor images before they made them accessible to scientists. There was no time for a complicated obfuscation, so they used a basic but extremely successful technique. This is the Clementine satellite, and in the lower left corner and the upper right corner you see the DMOC center. Clementine used an imager, which is a Thomson CCD camera, military standard, with field of view of 0.3 times 0.4 degrees, and this resulted in a long and narrow film strip of 5 kilometers wide, with Clementine at an altitude over the South Pole of 425 kilometers, and a pixel resolution of 288 times 384 pixels, which delivers smallest visible details in a resolution of 7 till 20 meters. Clementine facts: true or false? The history of Clementine shows a discrepancy. According to official channels, the Clementine story began in 1990. In April 1991, NASA and the Department of Defense concluded a collaboration on the deep space mission. In November 1991, the NRL was briefed at Ballistic Missile Defense Organization on the Clementine concept. January 1992, the BMDO informed NASA on the Clementine mission. March 1992, fundings were received for the Clementine mission. There's nothing wrong with these official dates except this. November 1991, NRL was briefed by the BMDO on the Clementine concept, and fundings were approved for the NRL in March 1992. Well, I found a resume of someone who worked for NRL and who was involved in the DSPSE's program till May 1991. So was there already a Clementine program? This resume is on file. Then there is this mysterious case of the malfunctioning thruster and lost power. Was there really a malfunction? Did Clementine lose power, thus became a dead satellite? All official reports tell the same story over and over again, but that is because there's only one source of information. There are, however, a few discrepancies concerning the story of the lost power. So, how dead is the satellite really? Two sources. There are many more, but I show you two sources. A malfunctioning thruster depleted all of its maneuvering fuel and the spacecraft was stuck in Earth orbit. I repeat, Earth orbit. It lost power in June 1994 after studying the Van Allen radiation belts. And NASA calls, the mission ended in June 1994 when the power level on board dropped to a point where telemetry from the spacecraft was no longer intelligible. In February 1995, a group of specialists nicknamed the Batcave Bunch re-established contact with Clementine 1. Well, no data confirms Clementine 1 operational, but there is data on the internet available that indicates the following. It has been determined that all instruments and systems are continuing to function well with the exception of the ACS, the Attitude Control System, and that it no longer functions because of the depletion of fuel. This is a message on the internet which I found from the 1st of March 1995 from Stephen M. Collins, who works for JPL NASA, and he congratulates the Batcave Bunch on the recent contact with the DSPSE. And then he answers, kudos to the folks that built that battery. So did Clementine 1 have a battery with enough power to re-establish contact? This is the Pentagon press conference on December 3rd, 1996. And we see the first results of the Clementine mission. It's a composition picture of the lunar South Pole. According to an official statement by Colonel Dick Bridges, Director of Defense Information, the U.S. Department of Defense, Clementine 1 ought to be in an 11-year orbit around the Sun. That's strange because we have seen that the Clementine was stuck in Earth orbit. However, when we look at orbital data, Clementine 1 is in high eccentric orbit with Earth. And, based on revolutions per day, she is near Earth 32 times each year. Closest approach to Earth 801 kilometers. Clementine 1 is still in space and not lost and gone forever. Real-time tracking Clementine 1 is possible but difficult. Of all online satellite trackers, there's one that tracks the satellite. The other trackers show data from a second Clementine satellite, a French electronic intelligence spy satellite. Fortunately, we can separate them via their unique NORAD ID and COSPER ID, as you can see here below. This is a screenshot of 2 days. The first is the 8th of March 2013, where we see Clementine in an orbit, eccentric orbit, approximately 350,000 kilometers from Earth. And the second one is from the 27th of March. And as you can see, it's now near Earth. This is the orbital data with the ground track. And you see in the lower right corner that you see that the satellite is currently making the swing around Earth. So the satellite is still active. And it's 32 times near Earth each year. These are the orbits of the two satellites, the Clementine 1, the US version, and the Clementine, the French version. This is purely hypothetical, but should Clementine be fully operational, then the satellite is Earth's most forward early warning system for approaching objects. Her cameras can see on multiple wavelengths. Thus, Clementine might be able to detect potential threats from outer space. The Clementine Internet Browser 1.5 web server does not allow download of files anymore, but when we try to connect, we see the name of the web server, and this one is most intriguing. Neither the US Department of Defense nor the NRL has ever been involved in scientific missions before 1994. There are zillions of possible alphabetical and numerical combinations, and this web server uses the name of Galilei. Is this a reference to Galileo? The Galileo connection. The US Department of Defense sent a satellite to the moon. The big question is why? Why send a military probe to the moon? There are official readings, but what if there was a hidden agenda? This is the Galileo spacecraft. Launch date 18th October 1989, and it made two moon flybys on the 8th of December 1990 and the 8th of December 1992. The Galileo spacecraft provided clearer views of the lunar dark far side and the north and south polar region of the moon than all Lunar Orbiter and all Apollo missions together. These high-resolution images, however, cannot be found anywhere. These are the only images I could find on the internet in databases. Of all high-resolution images that Galileo took, these photos are the only images available. Is there something on the moon that we are not supposed to see? Perhaps some kind of activity. An activity that produces strange colorful lights, streaks of light, and temporary coloring of the moon's surface. A transient lunar phenomenon, TLP, is a sudden and short coloring of the moon's surface. Most TLP are reddish, violet, pink or purple color, but there are reports of blue and yellow. They can also be star-like, flashes or streaks of light. TLP have been observed for at least 1,000 years and many by multiple witnesses. Scientists claim we see outgassing or the impact of asteroids on the moon's surface, but no proof builds these theories. This is a TLP. It was photographed by Leon H. Stewart from Tulsa, Oklahoma on the November 15th in 1953, located between Pallas and Schroeter. Let us take a quick peek at the hundreds of reported TLP and notice the similarities in the observations. This is the front cover from the NASA TRR-277 report from July 1968. Well, TLP from year 1650 in the region Aristarchus, we see a red hill Mons Phosphorites. On 1715, May 3rd, we see lightning on the face of the moon. There's a report on 1826, April 12, a black moving haze or cloud. 1836, two straight lines of light, a band covered with luminous points. 1839, July 19th, in Schroeter we see a dark mist. 1843, July 4th, the peak south of Alps. On Terminator saw an unusually bright spot that glowed like a fixed star. There are hundreds of these reports, and I'll advise you to read it. You can find it on the internet. It's freely downloadable. Crater Alphonsus is known for reports of glowing reddish clouds coming from the crater. On October 26, 1956, Dinsmore Elter, an astronomer, took photos of the crater in ultraviolet light, and he saw that the rails on the floor of the crater were blurred. The blur was not visible in the infrared photos he took, and he took them at the same time. This observation of volcanic activity was not accepted by professional astronomers. November 3, 1958, Nikolai A. Kozyrev made spectrograms of Alphonsus with a 50-inch reflector. While looking through the eyepiece, he observed that the central peak of the crater had an unusual reddish color and looked blurred. The spectrogram showed the emission spectrum of carbon vapor, and this confirmed his observation. Nikolai believed the TLP to be the result of possible volcanic activity. Unfortunately, his emission results were never officially confirmed. And these are the most common descriptions of transient lunar phenomenon: star-like appearances, bright brilliant spots, red spots, whitish clouds, hazy spots, nebulous appearances, streaks of light in red and yellow, lightning on the moon, lunar volcanoes, vapors, purple haze. Well, you name it, it's all kind of colors, it's all kind of appearances. These are the hotspots for transient lunar phenomenon on the moon. And this is the report from March 1978. And you see on top is Aristarchus, followed on second place by Plato, Proclus and Alphonsus. And these are the officially reported TLP only. And this is only the near side of the moon. So we have no idea how many there are on the far side of the moon. Most of you have seen this photo from Apollo 10. And many believe that it was a UFO or spaceship. Well, it's not. It is a TLP. I rotated the image and I performed contrast enhancement on pixel level, and suddenly the object is no longer in space, but appears to be on the moon's surface. And in my view we see a TLP, a bright or brilliant spot on the moon with hazy clouds. While the Apollo missions were carried out, 200 astronomers from 34 countries worked for LION, the Lunar International Observer Network, which was part of the Smithsonian Center for Short-Lived Phenomena. They evaluated Earth-based TLP observations and tried to verify these reports with observations made by the Apollo astronauts. On July 19, 1969, German astronomers observed the bright luminescence in the crater Aristarchus, and NASA was informed. The Apollo 11 astronauts, while still orbiting the moon in their command module, looked at the Aristarchus area, and Neil Armstrong, one of the astronauts, reported back. "Hey Houston, I'm looking north upward towards Aristarchus now, and there's an area that's considerably more illuminated than the surrounding area. It seems to have a slight amount of fluorescence." And this is the Aristarchus crater, photographed by Mike from the UK in December 17, 2005. And I emphasized the colors for better viewing. What was so important that NASA gathered 200 astronomers to locate TLP? Was this part of the Apollo mission, and had they been waiting for something to happen? Why would I bring up the translunar phenomenon in this presentation? With bare eyes it's hardly visible, but there is a rather reddish spot on a color photo of the moon taken by Galileo. This is that high-resolution image, and there is the TLP. I selectively remove colors, and the final result is a photo of the moon in grayscale, and with one red colored area, which is located between the Shiner crater and the Blancanus crater. Okay, I rotated the image for better viewing, and I did some zoom in, and here you see the TLP. Now the object is blurred and out of focus. When we refocus and deblur the image, we see the contours. There it is. It's even better visible now. And on the right you see a picture taken from an astronomer from Earth, because this is on the near side. And this is from Google Earth, Google Moon, and here we see the Shiner and Blancanus crater, and right in the middle between the two craters you see this bright spot. And here's the one from Clementine, and you see near the arrow the bright spot, the location, the center of the TLP. On the 23rd of April 1994, a TLP occurred while Clementine was orbiting the moon. Clementine took pictures of the crater Aristarchus and provided evidence. After the TLP, the crater walls had turned redder. This is a report from April 23rd, 1994. Sky and Telescope published an article basically saying anyone who sees a TLP is just seeing an illusion. Well, Clementine was in orbit around the moon, took pictures of Aristarchus, and proved that the TLP really occurred, and that about 100 amateur astronomers really had seen it. And this is that photo from Clementine. It's a color composition, color ratio 255, which means that they exaggerated the colors. These are not the original red colors, it's exaggerated. After March 1978, the report I showed you with the hotspots, official registration of TLP apparently has been discontinued. I was unable to find any recent official NATO TLP reports on the internet. A special task force of 200 astronomers had been formed to investigate TLP during Apollo missions, and NASA no longer shows any interest in the phenomenon? Isn't that strange? The US India, Japan and China sent satellites to the moon with super quality optics, and what do we see? Grayscale images. Why, I'm asking you? Is the moon's surface not the color they want us to believe? Chapter 2: The Pioneers. Other investigators before me also have tried to unravel the mystery of the hidden object. Here's a short overview of the achievements of two for me very important researchers, Mr. J.P. Skipper and Mr. Jose Escamilla. www.marsanomalyresearch.com is the website owned by Mr. Joseph P. Skipper, an investigator. On May 28, 2004, Mr. Skipper uploaded a picture on his website. And this is this picture he took from the Clementine browser version 1.5. And we see in the Zeeman crater, the smaller Zeeman crater, we see a hidden object. An object which obviously is obfuscated. The second investigator is Mr. Jose Escamilla from moonrisingthemovie.com. And he's the director of two masterpieces, Moon Rising and Celestial. And for his film Moon Rising, he too tried to unravel the Clementine mystery by using conventional Photoshop filters like the Unsharp Mask filter, which probably is the most used filter in image forensics. This is the original photo from Clementine, which I downloaded from the internet a long time ago, and this is the screen capture, Moon Rising. When we zoom in the screen capture, we see the object as Mr. Escamilla revealed it. And it looks like there is a humanoid standing next to it. Mr. Escamilla believed to see a humanoid standing next to a spaceship or a machine. Indeed, when you look at the contours, one could see the shape of a humanoid. This would mean that the alien object would be 2 times the size of New York. Now, this may seem ridiculous, but I'm asking you not to judge too quick, because in this presentation I will show you impossible things. These two pioneers have shown me that the Clementine anomaly is much more than just a smudge on a photo. Chapter 3: The Clementine Mystery Logo. Meanwhile, it is tradition that for every mission, scientific or military, a mission logo is created. The Clementine logo is one big mystery. This is the untouched original logo from 1993. And here we see Clementine holding a shield behind the moon, and we see the Astro Geographus, which was the second part of the mission from Clementine, and we see the American flag. I found several versions of the mission logo. Some are heavily compressed. Nevertheless, there's one thing they all have in common. They all have this very tiny sketch. So here's a comparison of the logo, and look what's inside the yellow circles and the red circle. We see a little tiny sketch. The same tiny sketch on all mission logo, except one. And that object has been blurred and looks different from the rest. All Clementine mission logo look the same, but the logo created by the Ballistic Missile Defense Organization is very different. Why would anyone change the official logo? Well, this is the logo from the BMDO, the NRL, LLNL. And you see that it's different. Let's take a look at the differences. We see the hand. The person on the left does not carry a pickaxe, but we see a crescent moon behind the neck. The person on the right is carrying a pickaxe. The shield has been changed. The objects on the moon have also been changed in their shape. So, what's going on here? Look at the two persons, on the left and on the right. We see eyebrows, eyes, nose, mouth, lips, cheekbone. Everything is different because we see two different persons. We see a man on the left and we see a woman on the right. Summary: facial features change from male to feminine. A firm hand of a man changed it to a more gentle grip. The robe of a man has changed to a woman's dress. A necklace and a pickaxe have been added. Conclusion: Apollo has been changed into a coal miner's daughter, Clementine. Apollo? Yes, Apollo. Compare the person on the logo with the statue of Apollo and the face, mirrored, found on the Apollo 17 mission patch. Here we have the mission logo from Clementine on the left, the mission patch of Apollo 17 in the middle, and the Apollo statue on the right. And the resemblance is remarkable. Was this original Apollo mission changed by the DoD into Clementine? The first mission logo was a complete drawing, but not this one. Again, the Clementine logo from the BMDO. Let's zoom in. When we look at the moon's surface and compare it with the rest of the logo, we see a totally different pattern. In my view, this logo consists of two parts, a drawing and possibly a photo. Why a photo? Because of these compression artifacts that we can see. So, here we see on top, we see the drawing. We can even see the grid. I used a special software to reveal this. And we have a photo in the lower part. And as you can see, it is cut out and pasted into a drawing. And then on the photo there's a drawing again. On the shield we see 3 lozenge or 4-side diamonds, and the shape has changed. The new shape cannot be found in the logo of the BMDO nor in the logo of the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization, the SDIO, which is the successor of the BMDO. What does that mean? In modal logic, the lozenge expressed that there is possibility, and in military terms, lozenge also stands for camouflage. So cryptographic would this mean that there is something camouflaged on the moon. Here we have the 2 logo, and you can see that these 3 lozenge in the middle do not appear in any other logo, in any of the logo. The American flag looks fake. Was the Clementine mission a false flag operation? Because the American flag has 7 red stripes and 6 white stripes, but we see 5 red and 5 white. Analysis of the symbols on the logo. Here we see the original logo of the Clementine mission. Weird symbolism can be seen. 1. The crescent moon. 2. Number 9 on Asteroid Geographus. 3. The vector symbol. 4. Fake shadow underneath the flag. 5. The shield held behind the moon. 6. A weird object left on the moon surface. And 7. A weird object center moon surface. My theory about the symbolism as found on the Clementine mission logo is as follows. The crescent moon is symbolic for new beginnings, making dreams into reality. Number 9 on the Asteroid Geographus is something I will show you later. The vector symbol is a direction of travel, something landed on the moon. The fake shadow indicates Schrödinger crater. Shield behind the moon is the moon protected by or Earth protected from. The mysterious object on the left is in fact the Zeeman crater and the reason for Project Golden Dragon. And with 7, the weird object in the center, we see the South Pole or Aitken Basin. The official reading of the number 9 written on Asteroid Geographus is that it refers to the size of her shoes, as in the lyrics. And her shoes were number 9. The number 9, however, represents something totally different. What it is I will show you later in this presentation. And here we have the logo zoomed in. We see on the moon surface 3 very distinct sketches. And here we have the sketches colored in, the borders colored in. And we see that they are totally different from the rest of the moon surface, which is dots and stripes. And these are very distinct drawings. So why would anyone do this? What is the purpose? Here we have the South Pole of the Moon, the map of the South Pole of the Moon, and we see the craters, the Zima crater, the Schrödinger, and we see the South Pole Aitken Basin, and see that it's a perfect triangle. A logo drawn prior to the launch of Clementine shows lots of weird symbolism. Is someone trying to tell us that there's something happening on the dark far side of the Moon? We have seen that the craters on the logo are dots and stripes, but there are very distinct sketches as well. Why would anyone draw this? Especially this one. Was it because they had seen something like this? Chapter 4: Obfuscation. This is a screenshot of the Clementine Lunar Internet Browser version 1.5. And this is the original picture from a Zima crater with a smudged object. I showed a reputable American astronomer the Clementine anomaly, and this is his response. The shape of the strange area is fully compatible with a missing data block. To me, having worked with similar data, it looks like they ran a fairly advanced algorithm to interpolate the missing data block. But these advanced algorithms can sometimes introduce artifacts that look like artificial structures. I can certainly recognize some of these effects right in that image. The explanation sounds logical, but I will show you that even the most logical explanation does not hold with our object. Official quote by the NRL. The ultraviolet visible camera with 5 filters and the near-infrared NIR camera with 6 filters will each collect overlapping images. Each filter is used along the satellite's ground track such that complete mapping of the lunar surface for each of the filters of each camera will be accomplished during the mapping operation. The high-resolution, high-res camera will make a continuous string of overlapping images. Continuous string of overlapping images. This is the Moon surface, as seen by Clementine. And this is zoomed in. And we see all these swaths, all these little areas, these scanned areas. We see film strips and we see hundreds of images. It's not just one picture. According to the DoD, many images from Clementine show data dropouts, and the smudged areas are not obfuscations but missing data blocks. Could high level of radiation cause these missing data blocks? Normal CCD cameras are sensitive to radiation, that's a fact. But Clementine's imager is of military standard, built to operate in radioactive environments. Clementine features instruments designed for 20 K-rad radiation, improved thermal management, improved radiation resistance, radiation-resistant glasses and optics, MPP CCD hard to 100 K-rad radiation, high-resolution camera uncompatible with predecessors, and optics comparable with NASA in the same size range. Clementine seems well protected against extreme environmental conditions in outer space. If there were data dropouts, then likely due to data transmission problems, but not because of radiation. So, according to the official DoD data, the approximate width of the film strips at the longitude and latitude of the object is 5 kilometers. What I show you here is not one photo. This is a composition of 7,590 images, and the size of the object contains approximately 98 images. One swath, one scan, is 5 kilometers in length and 2 kilometers in height. And the image width, total image of the photo, is 275 kilometers, is 55 film strips. Each film strip contains approximately 138 images. And 55 times 138 is 7,590 images. The object is claimed to be a missing data block. Well, is it just one block or 12 strips? 12 strips means 12 revolutions. We know that Clementine needed 5 hours for one revolution. One revolution is one continuous film strip with 6,000 images in ultraviolet, visual and infrared. The ZIMA smudge is one data block of 12 film strips, is 12 times 5 hours is 60 hours. This means that the satellite had data transmission problems during a period of 60 hours, and 12 film strips show 12 missing data blocks at one specific location? I consider that highly unlikely. On the 13th of February 2010, the Clementine browser version 1.5 was replaced by the Clementine Lunar Internet Browser version 2.0. All reported lunar anomalies had been carefully removed and the Clementine images updated. The NRL claims that with Clementine browser version 2.0, the quality of the images dramatically improved. Let us compare both versions. Here we see the 1.5 on the left and 2.0 on the right. And the image quality is different. But we can also see that these pictures are different. Look at the shadows. They used other film strips to composite a new picture. These are not the same images they used different images. And that resulted in a different quality. Chapter 5. Clementine's missing images. Clementine browser version 1.5 used only 170,000 images. The real made number of film strips is still a mystery. Because when we look at the official sites, they all have different numbers. This is the NRL, Naval Research Laboratory. And they say, during its 2-month orbit of the Moon, it captured 1.8 million images. SputusLunarResources.com tells us that Clementine returned 2.5 million images of all mission sensors. ACT, a company that was involved in the mapping of Clementine, 2.0 million images. The US Department of Defense, approximately 1.5 million images. The Missile Defense Agency, or the BMDO, the Ballistic Missile Defense Organization, approximately 1.5 million images. Well, that is interesting because different organizations show us different numbers. Sputus 2.5 million, ACT 2.0 million, both non-military, NRL 1.8 million, and the Department of Defense and the Missile Defense Agency, both 1.5 million images. So there is a maximum difference between military and non-military of 1 million images. And that's a huge difference. How many film strips did Clementine make? In visible light, in ultraviolet, in infrared, and how many in total? Was it 1.5 or 2.5 million? If this is really the case, then 1 million or more images have never been published or made accessible to scientists. Why? Why would they do this? What is so important that the general public is not allowed to know? That you are now going to discover. Chapter 6. A Small Step for Man. It is a small step for man. In memory of Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, August 5, 1930, August 25, 2012. This next photo is the print of Neil Armstrong's moon boot. The first man on the moon, but was he also the first visitor? Here's another one, but who or what made it? This is the NASA website, LMMP, and right in the center we see a gray spot, but we cannot see what it is. This is the Chang'e browser from a Chinese, and right in the center we see a bright spot in a higher resolution than from the US, but we can still not see what it is. This is from the Indians, taken from above, but look, the Zima crater is in the black, we cannot see what it is. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter also took pictures of the Zima crater with extreme high resolution, and again we see ACT, the company involved in the Clementine mission. There is a bright spot left above the smaller crater. It's two little L's. There it is, right in the center of your screen. But we can still not see what it is, and this is a resolution of 64 meters per pixel. So when we zoom in, first we mark the different spots, the various spots. When we zoom in, everything disappears. The weird ground structure completely disappeared into the shadows. So, are we not allowed to see what it is? Clementine Internet Browser version 2.0. Well, it's not exactly the right angle to see what it is. Then we have the WMS browser. From this angle it appears natural, just like a couple rocks, some dust. Fortunately, there's another picture from Clementine, one of the first ever taken. And I took the best available resolution, a PNG file, so there are no JPEG artifacts when I zoom in. And here it is, right in the center of your screen, the two little L's. Let's do something about the contrast. And here you see that it literally stands out from the rest of the moon's surface. It is totally different in shape, totally different in color. There it is, two L's. So what is it? When we zoom in further, we see that it is really distinct, and it looks like it has a couple angles of curves of 90 degrees. So we move all reflections in light, and now we're going to use our forensic software, image software, because our eyes cannot distinguish the different contrast levels. Here we go. Now we see all kinds of horizontal bars and vertical and diagonal bars appear, which our eyes could not see, but the software can make visible. Let's increase contrast a bit more, and now we see perfectly symmetrical lines. So what is this? Is this a mark of a mechanical foot? Because the tracks stop to the left, above, below, and to the right. So it's a very particular area where these bars appear, and outside there's nothing. So this must mean something. Okay, when we do the 3D, then we see that they are perfectly parallel and symmetrical running lines. But if this would be a mechanical foot, the length would be 4,000 meters, about 2,000 meters wide, and based on the pixel count, the imprint would be 50 meters. 50 meters. That's a huge mechanical foot. And there it is in zoomed in. And you see, look at the lines, look at the symmetrical lines. This does not look natural to me. There we have Moon Boot of Neil Armstrong and our extraterrestrial technology. Chapter 7, Colored Moon. The imager produced color, ultraviolet and near-infrared images, and I noticed that where the object was standing inside a smaller crater, Moon's surface had a different color. so I emphasize color spectrums to stress colors. And this is to show you that they only use original material from NASA and other official organizations, and not from secondary or third party. And here we have the Zeeman crater. And this is the full image. Image analyzers make data visible about image files. Analyzing this Clementine picture with JPEG Snoop, I noticed that this image had been manipulated using a software called ImageAlchemy version 1.11. And there it is, ImageAlchemy version 1.11, manufactured by Handmade Software Incorporated. What is ImageAlchemy? ImageAlchemy is a software utility that manipulates computer image files. It can resize an image, change the number of colors in an image, change an image from color to black and white, and change the color space an image uses. So why would they use a software like that? A software was used able to manipulate colors in an image. There is no evidence, but when we take a closer look at the ultraviolet and infrared images, we see something interesting. Reflectance spectroscopy. Based on reflectance and absorption, we are able to determine composition of material, abundance of water molecules, alteration through heat, influence of chemical processes, if material corroded or eroded. According to science, the moon has no atmosphere. Let us assume that this is true. Then there are no molecules overhead the moon that diminish image quality. In an environment without atmosphere, reflectance of light in both visual and infrared is not influenced by atmospheric scattering, absorption, or light reflections from nearby objects. Conclusion: we should always see razor-sharp images and original photograph colors. Next images are a combination of visual light, ultraviolet and near-infrared. This is from Map a Planet Explorer, and here we see the Zeeman crater, and it looks gray, grayscale. Well, if we emphasize colors, we see something different. In ultraviolet, it turns out to be blue. And look at the location of the material. It's inside the crater and on the rim, not on the moon surface outside the crater. And here it is zoomed in. And this is in near infrared. This is original, and this is with emphasized colors. And then we'll see that it is green. And everything again is located inside a smaller crater. Zoomed in. And this is combined, ultraviolet, visual range and near infrared. And you see everything is located inside the crater. Concentration in the crater. Here we have another band, 145, and it's red. 135, 123. Whatever option you take, whatever selection you make in the UV, VIS or NIR, everything, all the material is located inside a smaller crater. On the moon surface you will not find any material. So what is it? I've showed you color images from Clementine taken by the UV, VIS imager. These images are unique, and when they're uploaded to other websites, you would expect to see the same images with the exact same colors. It appears that someone does not want you to know the true colors of the material in the Zeeman crater. Let us take a look at another NASA website. It's the exact same Clementine UV VIS image. This is LMMP. And look, Clementine UV VIS image mosaic. So you would expect to see some colors. Well, forget it. It's all grayscale. Why are there no colors? What is it that we are not allowed to see? because this is what we saw with emphasized colors from Map a Planet. What is this color of material that we see? Chapter 8, Mysterious Objects. There are indications that suggest that images may have been manipulated. The Zeeman crater is hiding something, which we are not allowed to know. With bare eyes, the surface appears normal. This is the LROC browser, ACT React QuipMag. And we see inside the crater, straight into the crater, and we see rocks and dust. And we see the same thing with the Chinese Chang'e browser. And with the Clementine Lunar Internet Browser 2.0. And this is from the Clementine Lunar Internet Browser 1.5 on Google Moon. This is the original picture from Clementine. So let's zoom in and do some contrast and sharpening. Then we see that there's stuff lying inside the crater. When we zoom in further, we see objects. This is not rocks and dust. These are objects. And if we zoom in closer and we do more sharpening, then we see very distinct shapes. So what is it? It doesn't look like the pictures that we saw before. This is the color version from the same area. On the left we see the original colors, and on the right you see the stressed colors, I emphasized colors. And then we see that inside the crater it's green and blue. This is even better visible now. On top we have the original colors, and below we have the stressed colors. And look, the green and blue material is concentrated inside a smaller crater. And this is the latest picture from the LRRC, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, in color. And look, in the color enhanced box we see green and blue material. The Chinese Chang'e made high-resolution images of the Zeeman crater, but these images left me with more questions. Because when we zoom in on the Chang'e browser, we see weird things lying on the crater floor, but it doesn't absolutely not match what we saw before in the Clementine images. See, this looks totally different. Let's compare it. On top Clementine and below the Chang'e. I changed viewing angle and focal length so the image taken by Clementine almost matches the Chang'e angle. Objects clearly visible above look blurred, out of focus, and a lot smaller in the image below. So there has been obvious manipulation in the image below. Chapter 9. Alien Technology on the Moon. After this long introduction, we have reached the point where I will reveal the object. This is for me the most scary part of the entire project, as how can I explain to you, who have never seen anything like this before, what it is? There are no similar type objects on Earth, so there is no way to compare it with something else. I realize that this object may seem unreal to most of you because of its size and shape. When I revealed it for the first time, I could not believe it myself, but that has changed. Look at this object with an open mind. Think out of the box, and then you will see it. The mysterious object this presentation is about was found in the Zeeman crater, which is located in the Aitken Basin, oldest region on the Moon and created 4.3 billion years ago. The Aitken Basin was created by asteroid impact. Giant asteroid. Where is it located? Well, it's located on the dark side of the Moon, on the South Pole, in the South Polar region, but we cannot see it from Earth. It's just out of reach of our telescopes. And this is a picture taken by the Lunar Orbiter. So the elevation levels of the Zeeman crater and the Aitken Basin. It's a very interesting area because the crater is below Moon surface. The Zeeman crater edge lies 2,000 meters below Moon surface, and the Zeeman crater floor is 6,000 meters below Moon surface. As you can see here, the edge is 2 kilometers below Moon surface, and the crater floor about 6,000 meters below Moon surface. So basically it's a gigantic hole in the Moon. Galileo, Clementine and Lunar Prospector missions showed us that the composition of the Aitken Basin is completely different from the material brought back by the Apollo astronauts, the material collected by Russian lunar missions, and meteorites coming from the Moon found on Earth. Scientists have no idea what material can be found in the Aitken Basin. These could be extremely rare known but also unknown elements. This is the original picture from Clementine from the Zeeman crater and taken from the Internet Browser 1.5. And this is the GIF file. So let's take a look at the sizes. The length of the object is approximately 35 miles. The object has a height of 13.5 miles, and based on the shadow, calculation shadow, it's about 3.5 miles wide. So it's gigantic. And just in comparison, here we have the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world, 830 meters. And this is even exaggerated because it should be smaller. The small box should even be smaller. The Mount Everest is the highest mountain on Earth with 8,848 meters, and the highest commercial airplane can fly approximately 14 kilometers. So the object has a height of approximately 22 kilometers. The object on the original GIF file is too small to perform image enhancements on. First, I had to increase the size of the object. I used PhotoZoom Professional as it has the currently best available S-Spline algorithm for interpolation. This particular algorithm, depending on settings, allows to zoom in on very small objects and to increase image size or resolution with very little distortion. This is the zoomed in GIF file, and here you see the object. And it looks blurred. Well, it's not blurred, and I'll show you. The smudge is the result of a method of obfuscation known as clipping. Clipping is the conversion of tones lighter or darker than a specified gray color level to a new gray or color tone. This equalizing of lighter and darker levels results in loss of detail. Loss of detail does not mean that data is removed, as details are there, but our eyes simply can no longer see them. During the process of reverse clipping, I noticed that the object was partially transparent and translucent, which made it more difficult to bring out details. Another problem I faced was that the object consisted of 12 film strips, with each their own brightness, contrast and gamma levels. Therefore, I needed to enhance each part separately, considering different lighting conditions. Do not expect to see a flying saucer, or the kind of alien technology you think this object might look like. Be open to new ways of technology. Realize that there are things we humans believe to be impossible. Your mind has been conditioned to see and recognize known patterns, shapes and objects, as you have seen alien technology on images, posters, in films and documentaries. Imagine a machine higher than an airplane can fly, 2 times bigger in size than New York City, and our human brain refuses to accept such way of thinking. Logically, we know that such machine could not exist on Earth. Others before you saw it, and they decided that you were not allowed to see it. The object is three-dimensional, and the Skinner hull consists of parts with different colors. The clipping makes it impossible to enhance all parts of the object simultaneously. The object has flexible and extendable parts in all directions, and it could very well be a machine of biomechanical nature. I would best describe it as a gigantic caterpillar, with multiple legs that crawls over the Moon's surface. Think out of the box. Why would anyone draw this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's because of the object looks like this. A gigantic caterpillar with multiple legs. Look at the shape. Look at the structures. And see that with every level of contrast, other things appear and disappear. The object must have shape-shifting capabilities because of the scales that can move in every direction. It has a fully flexible and extendable neck, a suction unit, pipes for transporting excavating material, and multiple legs. There we see the different scales. Another contrast level. Look at the lower part of the body, which looks like a whole lot of cables bound together, so it makes a very flexible construction. Also look at the back. This part here. See these lines? And this part here is very flexible, with all different scales here. Look at the contours. This exactly matches that's a sketch that was drawn on the mission logo. Multiple feet, multiple legs. Digital artifacts do not create shadows, more evidence that the smudged object is not a missing data block. Here we have a close-up of the leg. If you have problems in seeing it, well, that's very understandable, fully understandable, because you have never seen it before. You have nothing to compare it with. Any of the scales, and next to the scales, below the scales, we have shadows. Different contrast, scale, and intensity. So when we look at the same object, but with different scales and of intensity, then we see a whole different object. Now we see the contours. We see the back of the object, and we see these hills or spines on the object. This is the head of the object. We see the suction unit. We see an extendable neck. We see the different scales. Look at the construction here, how this is connected. And see that this is totally different from this here. And also the very flexible lower part. Then the foot, or what looks like the foot. The leg. And this lower part here. Very distinct shapes. So anyone who claims that this is a missing data block or a JPEG artifact is nuts. So here we have other details, other contrast levels, of course, other intensity. Then we see that this part is different from the rest. See, there's all these scales running over each other. It makes it very flexible. It's a very flexible construction. What you see here, the black and white things around the object, is the Moon's surface. Different levels, different contrast levels. Now we see even better here, the suction unit. So what is it? Well, in my view, it is a machine which is excavating material on the Moon's surface, and I will come to that later. Different contrast levels, different objects visible, different details. Just enjoy the view. I will make everything that I produced every enhancement, every single slide available for download. So you can everything check yourself. You can everything verify. There's no secrets here. And look at the different plates. Look at these scales, how they move over each other, how they can move in every single direction. And then this part here looks like, well, I don't know what it is. see how this is connected here. I mean, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So this is zoomed in. Now here we see the neck, extendable neck, and we see these parts connected with each other. I will also explain later in this presentation how you can do this yourself. It's not rocket science. Everyone can do this. More evidence that the object is not a missing data block or digital noise. Let's analyze the horseshoes we see in front of the machine. Well, we have seen these strange horseshoes in front of the smudged object, right? Well, it's because of this here. This little thing here. This is the horseshoe that produces these shadows. So why are there 3 shadows? Because the object was moving. Satellite, which comes over the area and takes pictures, always photographs the crater in the same position. But if an object is moving through the crater, it will be photographed in different positions. So the crater does not move, but the object does move. So that's why we see 3 shadows here. At least that's my interpretation. Otherwise, there would be behind this one here would be 2 more horseshoes. There it is, zoomed in. As you can see, it has the shape of a horseshoe. Close-up of the suction unit. Well, this is the front of the object, the machine, and here we have the close-up of the suction unit. Even better now. See, here it is. And this is a few hundred meters. Don't get fooled by this picture, but the size is a few hundred meters. And there's all kinds of weird stuff lying next to the suction unit. And I have no idea what it is. To me it looks like a scorpion, but there would be a scorpion of about a mile long. Could also be a machine or other thing. I don't know. I tried to sharpen it even more, but then it became blurred and I couldn't do anything with it. So, Chapter 10, the machine comes to life. The human eye is built to pick up light intensity and colors, but the Clementine image with the machine is grayscale. For some of you, the machine may not yet be visible. There is a way to create colors in a grayscale image by using a software called RGB Lights. How does it work? Create from one image new images, all equal in size, with different contrast levels. Load image 1 into the red channel, image 2 into the green, image 3 into the blue channel. Then simply switch between colors. Experiment. The software creates an RGB image from 3 grayscale images. But the colors that I show you are not the genuine colors of the object. So here it is, the screenshot of the program. I took 3 grayscale images, all equal in size. Load them into the application, pressed make, and then I got an RGB image. Finally, I separated the RGB channels in the images by equalizing them. And for this purpose I used Helicon Filter 493, which is a free software. Step 1 is saturation slider to control saturation level for the required color tones. Step 2, equalize colors to remain in the image, the active tones. Step 3, in and decrease spectrum sensitivity for the required colors. And step 4, equalize colors to reject from the image, the so-called empty tones. This is a screenshot from that program, Helicon. And I really had no idea what to expect when I performed this first grayscale conversion. Well, all I can say is it's unbelievable. So let's see what the results bring. Purple. There is the machine in purple. Now we see it in purple and pink, or violet. Beautiful colors, beautiful structures. This is the rainbow version. And this is also another one, but with different contrast levels, different intensity. And you see that the various parts have various colors. This is not created by me, by the way. This is how the software brings out that image, how it makes its image. Blue. We see clearly the suction unit. This is in multiple color. And now other things also start to appear, which we have not seen before. And as you can see, there's depth now. So the object is three-dimensional. And imagine an object which is 57 kilometers in length and 20 kilometers in height. Then it is difficult to see any specific details with a resolution of only 7 to 20 meters. And imagine that this picture was taken at the height of 425 kilometers. Green. Look at the different sections of the object. This is the back of the object. We see a leg here, a leg here. We see an object here. There's something here. This is the head, what I presume is the head. Suction unit, the neck. Copper. And see the scales, the edges of the scales. Now it gets interesting. This is the back of the object, the head of the object, and this really looks like a head. Can you see what it is? Even better now. Minerals and ores change color when exposed to chemicals, especially acidic fluids. On Earth we use acidic fluids and electrolysis, electrical discharge, to extract rare elements. Could this explain transient lunar phenomena? The short coloring of areas on the moon and flashes of light in various colors, observed and reported by hundreds of amateurs and professional astronomers. How else would a highly advanced extraterrestrial civilization excavate the moon? They cannot extract minerals and metals by beaming it from rocks, or can they? They must have technical limitations as well, despite incredible sized machines. The floor of a smaller Zima crater shows many different colors and strange colored objects. Have these objects and the lunar regolith been in direct contact with acidic solutions? The most common descriptions of transient lunar phenomenon: lightning on the moon, moving glows, vapors, smoky black dark gray mist. Colors of the moon's surface vary, and from Clementine's UV-VAS images we know the regolith in the Zeeman crater has a light orange tone. Now let us see if we can reconstruct the original colors of the machine. With RGB light software, you can create this orange color into our image. So, if we create, or let's say experiment with colors, RGB colors, and we see this orange color tone back in our image, we have found one color. But we also have found the copper color. So is this the original color of the object? After color conversion, we see right below the machine a few small ponds. Do these areas contain fluids? Are we witnessing the excavation of the moon? During chemical extraction, materials change color and gases are formed. Underneath the machine, areas look foggy. Is that because of chemical vapor? Well, here is our object, the machine, and we see these colored areas. And we see that this is hazy or foggy. See, right into the reds, in the red circles, we see blue ponds, which look like ponds, and we see the hazy area below or underneath the neck. It's even better visible, the ponds, blue, and the hazy foggy area, right here. Because everything, all other details are sharp, only just this area is hazy or foggy and we can't see any details. Chapter 11, The Golden Dragon, Myth or Reality? In a Clementine song, the number 9 written on Asteroid Geographus refers to the size of Clementine's shoes, and her shoes were number 9. Shoe size on an asteroid? Shoe size has nothing to do with it. The pound or hash sign, usually attached to a keyword or phrase, identifies a message on a particular subject or topic. In China, the number 9 is connected with Chinese dragons. Chinese dragons are described in terms of 9 attributes, with the skin covered with 170 scales. 13 times 9, of which 81, 9 times 9 are yang, positive, and 36, 4 times 9 are yin, negative or reversed. This is probably one of the earliest painted dragons, from 1244 AD, taken from a hand scroll with 9 dragons, which is also called the 9 dragons, and located at the Museum of Fine Art in Boston, USA. As imagined by the Chinese dragon has 9 anatomical features. The head of a camel, ears like a cow, fiery eyes of a demon, horns of a deer, long neck like a serpent, scales of a carp, belly of a frog, paws of a tiger with 3 or 5 toes, and the claws of an eagle with 3 or 5 nails. Also mentioned, a long beard, spines on the back, a foot rule, which is a device or object on the head, and stretch of folded wings. According to Chinese legends, the first dragon ever seen appeared in the sky around 4000 BC. Have ancient Chinese civilizations been witness of the visit of an alien machine? Did a dragon walk around in China? Is the Clementine alien object a Chinese dragon? Does the Clementine object have the same features? When we look at the dragon, we see the horns of a deer. We see ears like a cow. We see fiery eyes. And we see the head of a camel. Furthermore, we see a long beard. These lines that run from top to bottom is the long beard. We see scales and neck of a serpentine, snake. We see scales of a carp. We see the folded wings. We see paws like a tiger. And we see the structured belly of a frog. Now this resemblance is remarkable, but let's see. Why should the dragon be golden or copper color? A golden or copper object when lit by the sun looks as if it is on fire. Perhaps that is where the myth comes from that dragons spit fire. This machine has remarkable similarities with the list of animals the Chinese use to portray a dragon. What would be the colors of the head of a camel? Brown, light orange. Horns of a deer, white, brown. Fiery eyes, yellow and orange like fire. The paws of a tiger, well, yellow, copper, orange. Claws of an eagle, brown, yellow. The belly of a frog, white, brown, yellow. Scales of a carp, brown, copper, gold. This indeed looks like the colors in our machine, the dragon, or is that coincidence? Well, the head of a camel, orange, yeah, yellow, yeah. We see the horns of a deer, we see the ears of a cow, we see a long beard, we see the neck of a serpent, we see the scales of a carp, which are copper gold, we see the belly of a frog, we see the paws of a tiger, the folded wings. Everything is there, in the colors as described. The dragon has an almost unlimited range of supernatural powers. It can shapeshift, change color as an effective form of camouflage, or glow in the dark. The colors of Chinese dragons vary, but most dragons vary from greenish to golden, with a series of alternating short and long spines extending down their backs and along their tails where they become longer. The dragon has long tendril-like whiskers extending from either side of its mouth, probably used for feeding its way along the bottom of muddy ponds. According to Chinese legends, under its chin or floating just out of reach a bright shining pearl. Under dragon's head a device called the Poshan or foot rule, which the dragon needs to ascend to heaven. The scales of the dragon's throat are reversed. When exhaling breath it produces clouds of fire or rain. So, again, the picture of the dragon, the horns of a deer, we see the ears of a cow, demon eyes, head of a camel, the long beard, the scales of a dragon's throat, and here they are reversed, as you can see. They run from right to left, and on this side they run from left to right, so they are reversed. We see two whiskers. The suction units could be the whiskers, the belly of a frog, scales of a carp. On the head we see an object, the device, the Poshan or foot rule, and we see these things here, which could be the spines. He has a small one, he has a bigger one, and he has the biggest. So, we find even more anatomical features. When the Chinese would see this machine flying through the skies, lit by sunlight, what would it look like? Perhaps like a golden dragon? The dragon's breath changes into clouds, comes out as fire or rain. Is fire to be interpreted as lightning or electrical discharge, for example electrolysis? Rain to be interpreted as the spraying of fluids, a chemical extraction? Another myth, where dragon blood is spilled and has been spilled in the distant past, no vegetation will grow. Is this a reference to environmental pollution? There's the dragon in full glory. Underneath the machine and on the moon's surface we see two tube-like objects. There is no mentioning of these tubes in Chinese dragon descriptions, but many ancient Chinese drawings show similar objects which look like flames coming from the feet. On the dragon's head we see two long antennae, and we see those as well in our alien object. There's so much similarities. This is an ancient dragon drawing. Here we have the dragon. Here we have the tubes. Again, there are all kinds of strange things running over the moon's surface. These are the tubes, and we have the antenna, the whiskers. What does the Chinese dragon look like in Chinese writing? Well, that's also very interesting. Look, the dragon symbol and the dragon seal. So, let's flip it. If we flip the dragon seal and the dragon writing, then we see this. Look at the shape. One here, one here. The resemblance is remarkable. When dragons walk on the moon, would they not leave a dragon's footprint? I already showed you a strange print near the Zeeman crater, and this looked like the print of a boot or the foot of a machine.
What I have not shown you is a further enhancement of this print. And to reveal the footprint of the dragon, I use software called BAS Relief. So here is the print, and here's the 3D image. A dragon's foot with 5 toes. One, big one, another one, here's one, and a smaller one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toes. Or is it just coincidence? Let us check if we found all of the dragon's anatomical features. Head of a camel, yes. Ears like a cow, yes. The fiery eyes of a demon, yes. The horns of a deer, yes. Long neck of a serpent with reverse scales, yes. Scales of a carp, yes. The belly of a frog, yes. Paws of a tiger with 3 or 5 toes, yes. Claws of an eagle with 3 or 5 nails, well, I'm not quite sure because I was unable to see. A long beard, yes. Short and long spines on the back, yes. A foot rule, weird objects on the head, yes. Folded wings, not 100% sure. Long tender like whiskers or antenna, yes, they look like antenna. Color of the dragon greenish to golden, yes. A bright pearl, yes. So let us see where this bright pearl is hiding. As previously mentioned, the obfuscation technique they used did not allow complete exposure of the machine. With each level of contrast, intensity and scale, new details became visible while others disappeared. I took 2 color images, merged them, and then the bright pearl became visible. I admit it does not 100% look like a pearl, but it is located under the chin, and you can clearly see that it's much brighter than its surroundings and it literally shines. This is the program ToolPic. So I took 2 pictures of the dragon and I combined it, I merged them, and after that this became visible. See? This is the chin, the head, and here's an object. It's not quite visible yet, but let's see. There it is, the dragon in its full glory. And here it is, the bright pearl, under the chin. Previously hidden, but by combining these 2 images, it became visible. Now we also see a clear object on the head, the device, the Pashon, and we see the horn of a deer. We see the ear of a cow, the head of a camel or horse. Some people would also see the head of a horse in it. We see a very beautiful eye here, a demon eye, the long beard running down, scales on the neck, the serpent of the scales of a serpent. When the reverse scales here, then the scales of a carp, the belly of a frog, well, the legs, paws of a tiger. And see, it was not previously visible, but another leg has become visible because I merged these 2 images. So we're going to take a closer look at that as well. Well, in here with the spines, one beautiful spine here, another one, another one. Okay. It's a close-up of the pearl, the bright pearl. You see it literally shines. It's much brighter than its surroundings, and it's underneath the chin. So, merging, this was the result, and here's the pearl. This is a lifted leg. It looks like a lifted leg, so this object is moving. See? It's from the moon surface, it's off the moon surface. It's above, hovering above the moon surface. So we found another leg. This is a close-up of the Pashon, the foot rule, the device. Not quite sure what this is. Initially I thought this was also a horn of a deer, but now after the conversion and after the merge of these 2 images, it looks like something totally different. Interesting. And we have the scales here, see, reversed. So, summary. We have a dragon found on the moon, standing in the Zima crater, excavating the moon, obviously doing something about chemical extraction and electrolysis, which could be an explanation for the TLP, the transient lunar phenomena. And we find all the anatomical features from ancient dragon descriptions back in our machine. Or it's all coincidence. Is there anyone who could confirm the existence of alien technology on the moon? Yes, as a matter of fact there are. Former NRL DoD personnel who have said to testify in front of the United States Congress as part of the UFO Disclosure Project. And I really hope that someone of these people will come forward and confirm the Clementine cover-up and the existence of these alien dragons. Project Golden Dragon started back in 1998, and I had no idea of the incredible things I would discover. You have just seen a small part of my research, but let's face it, the evidence is clear. We are not alone in the universe. Dragons visited us in the past, and this has been documented by the Chinese and other nations, because we've also found dragon descriptions in Scandinavia, in Britain, in Poland, and other nations. Earth is no longer of interest to dragons, as else we would have seen them walking around. They appear non-hostile, so have we made contact? Was contact denied? Have they warned us not to interfere with their mining activities on the moon? It is time that we get full disclosure from the government. That is our right. The Golden Dragon standing on New York City. And this is in perspective to Earth. This is the Isle of Manhattan, New York City. This is 20 kilometers in height, and this is 57 kilometers in length. Imagine when such thing would be walking around on Earth. It would be a catastrophe. It's not magic, just the right software. Finally, the processing of the image. Step 1. Download the original image from the internet. It's still available, it's a GIF file. Increase resolution of the original image. Then save the image, but use a high quality algorithm. Step 2. Cut part with the hidden object from the image and save the cut image. Step 3. Download IrfanView and all plugins and your own language file from www.irfanview.com. Step 4. Open the image in IrfanView, go to Images, Effects, and then go to Ultralux, which is the plugin we use to reveal the dragon. In Ultralux you can adjust settings and run Ultralux once and save the image. The best result you get is when you set intensity 100 and scale 16. Step 5. Open a new image, go to Ultralux, select a not too small area, adjust settings and run Ultralux. Then save the image again. Experiment with the settings. Take the same image and repeat step 5, save the image, repeat step 5, save the image. So basically that's it. There's nothing more to do than use Ultralux. Step 7. After Ultralux processing, sharpen your edges, details, add colors. You can use Photoshop or any other program. And that's basically it. That's how I did it. Well, not with Photoshop, with other programs, but that's how you can do it. I wish you good luck and have fun. This is a screenshot from Ultralux. As you can see, this scale here is 10 and the intensity 50, just to show you what it looks like. And this is what it looks like after conversion, after used Ultralux on this image. And you can see that it